Hi, I'm Tina Cummins,
I'm Belinda Powers. We are.
True Crime Sages. Welcome back, everyone. Hi, Belinda.
Hi, Tina.
Tonight, we're going to be talking about the Delphi homicides of Liberty German and Abigail Williams. They went missing on February 13th, 2017, and their bodies were discovered the next day. They went missing from Delphi, Indiana, on the Monon High Bridge Trail. And I'm sure most of you are familiar with Delphi girls cases. Belinda and I haven't been doing much. First, I want to apologize because we haven't been doing much in the last week and a half. So I guess it's been about a week since we posted anything. But, you know, with the Paige Johnson vigil, and then of course with Belinda, you know, the anniversary of the finding her daughter's remains came up, and so we've had that to deal with, and well, Belinda's had that to deal with, and you know, we've had other stuff going on, so I want to apologize for not posting anything or any updates or anything, but we're back now, and tonight we're going to discuss Liberty German and Abigail Williams. So the first thing I want to talk about, Belinda, is both of us were contacted by a mutual friend back when they went missing a few years ago. And it was within, you know, I would say it wasn't even, well, it's probably about a week. And she wanted us to work as psychics on the girls' cases. And both of us were busy at the time and we couldn't commit to it. But I know I gave her information. You gave her information as well, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And the information did get back to the family. But it was kind of upsetting to me. And we've both had this happen before, but the person who took our information gave it out as her own. And that was a little frustrating, you know, when a person goes missing, and I know you share this sentiment with me, our concern is for the person that's missing and the families. And
yeah, first and foremost.
You know, and in these girls' cases, you know, a lot of times people will try to make a name for themselves. It's not what Belinda and I are about. This is a sad and horrific thing. I don't know how anybody can do that, but we've talked about this quite often, but people try to make a name for themselves, will try to make money. And, you know, I want to say these people are victims, you know. They're victims and their families are victims as well. And I think it's the most disrespectful thing to try to take advantage of that. It's wrong. Wouldn't you agree?
I mean, yeah, it's probably one of the hardest things any family ever deal with. And then they're met by people that wants to take advantage, and that just pouring salt in the wounds.
Yeah. And generally, you know, we might offer our services, but if someone doesn't want it, we're not going to push.
Right.
You know, we're not going to impose our will on anyone. I've never worked a case unless I've been asked to, or, you know, in a couple of instances I've offered and they said, okay. And it worked out pretty good. But if somebody doesn't want our help, then we're not going to get involved generally. Or if somebody doesn't come to us and ask us. But getting back to the girls, the first thing I'd like to talk about with the girls is that back when they went missing and we did these initial readings, I did sketches. I know you did readings, correct? And we did, and then we worked on it together. And I was a little disturbed at a lot of the social media. Now I know both of us are upset over some things that have happened on social media, particularly the family being blamed, right?
Right.
Is there anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, that's just, you know, your heart goes out to the family already. Not every family is
Not
involved.
right.
You do see some cases where they are involved, but not every family. People, they want to jump before they get any kind of evidence or any kind of proof.
Well, and how
Yeah.
many times did we see the family of Liberty and Abby, both of them actually, being attacked on social media, people from all over the world accusing them, accusing the grandpa, accusing the dad, accusing the uncle, accusing the cousin, this one, that one,
The sister, yeah.
the sister, you know, accusing all these people. And, you know, I just want to say they have DNA. Do people not realize that families ruled out? I mean, I don't get it. You know, it came out early on that they have DNA. And they also have the family's timeline, and they had their cell phones pings, whatever. They were able to rule out the family pretty quickly, I imagine, in Abby and Libby's cases. So in saying that, I went on social media, and I know you'll remember this, but I went on social media and I posted my opinions on that. I thought that a serial killer was responsible for the girls, and I got hammered. I mean, you saw
They
it.
were vicious.
They were vicious. They came at me left, right, upside, downside, backside, forward, sideways, every way you can think of, they came at me. And, you know, I want to discuss why I believe it's a serial killer. And, you know, Melinda and I, at this point, we're in agreement about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, from the start.
Yeah, from the beginning, we've discussed it, we've talked about it, we did our readings, but there's more to it than just doing psychic information, okay? There's knowledge behind it. Belinda and I have worked on many missing person cases. And
I think the psychic part of it, when you do a reading, it kind of opens it up to where when you start seeing things, it starts making sense.
Yes.
And so it helps out. Not that it's going to give you anything that's going to solve the case, but it helps.
right.
It helps the process.
Right. It's not much different than police officers getting intuition. For example, you brought up Joe Clyde Daniel. You know, we talked about that poor little boy's case, and right away we both looked at each other and were like the parents. It was, you know, just like that. Well, it's a little bit different. And so the reason why from the beginning, okay, initially Belinda and I, we didn't see anything online. When we did our psychic readings, we saw nothing because we do it raw.
Right.
Don't want to get the front, or we don't want to get front loaded is what it's called. When you get stuff in there, too much information in there, then you can't accurately see anything because your analytical side of your brain gets in the way.
Well, then, and what I do, I know I'm guilty of it. I don't like to hear it because if I do, as soon as I get it, I dismiss it because it's like, yeah, I already know that. I already knew that. And so I dismiss it and I don't even put it in there, but it's part of it. So.
Right. Well, we were talking about Gabby Petito when she first went missing. I said, it's the fiance. First thing out of my mouth, it's the fiance. He did it. And I knew that simply from looking at the video.
Right.
You know, I looked up her name and I saw that there was they got pulled over in Denver, and because of his body language and his behaviors and everything, I knew instantly, boom, he's guilty. They're going to find her. Hopefully they'll catch him. You know, that one was pretty cut and dry. But now Abby and Libby's case, though, theirs is not cut and dry, but I want to give you my reasons. I knew from the beginning it was a serial predator. And so in terms of the girl's age, you know, generally someone that's going to kidnap or take control or murder a child of that age, it's generally for control or sexual in nature. That's my first hint. Okay, so you look at the age. Then I look at what I saw in my head. And what I saw in my head was, yeah, I did sketches. Okay, without seeing the guy, I did sketches. And after seeing the photos, because it was, I think they released the photos first, the still shots first, and then they released.
Way after, but way after.
Yeah, then they
Yeah.
released the tape later, but yeah, right away it was within a week, I guess, we saw the still shots. And okay, so what I noticed right off was the direction where he came and the location. Okay, so the location, it was isolated. And Belinda, you said, we both said it basically at the same time, but you brought up his pattern of travel. Can you talk about that?
Go ahead.
Okay, so he's coming across the bridge and he's looking straight ahead. He's got his jacket stuffed. He obviously went out there that day prepared to kill. Now, the area where they went, it's isolated. It's in a rural area, a rural town, but it's off the beaten trail. Okay, so they've got this Monon High Bridge and then this trail that leads into the woods. And it's a scenic area where people can go out and take pictures and everything and just relax. Generally, something like that, you know, it's not a big city. You don't expect, okay, you don't expect something like that to happen when you're with someone else. Okay.
And I think too, with we both got right off in the beginning. Everybody else was saying that he followed the girls on the bridge and he was coming the same pathway that he was. And we both got, no, he came up, came past them, and then turned around on them.
Yes, turned
around on them.
Because, okay, so when we were talking about it, okay, so initially when we did our psychic readings, I can still see it in my head. He's in this one open area. It's a big round area, and he's coming and he's sitting there and he's watching them. And they go on past him, and I can hear them in my head talking about this creepy guy, and they were kind of making fun of him. Well, he gets up and he goes in the woods along the side of him. Okay, so he's going over this way. So if you're walking down this trail, he's going off to the left and down the side, and they don't see him, but he's stalking them. He's watching them. And then at one point they notice him. So so as they get across the bridge, they're discussing him, laughing, joking around, whatever, you know, talking about how creepy he is or whatever, weird. And here he comes across the bridge, but he doesn't stop. He goes on past them, and then he turns around. And what I think he's doing at that point was looking to see what exactly was back there.
Right.
If anyone else was back there. Okay.
Yep.
Turns around and he comes back, and that's when he says, and I can hear it because I listened to it probably 1,000 times. Guys, get down the hill. I can sound just like him. Guys, get down the hill. Sorry, smoker's voice. So what I'm seeing when he comes across, okay, so first of all, he doesn't take one girl. So this isn't a fledgling. Okay, this isn't his first time doing this. He was prepared to kill. He knew the area. He knew how to get across that bridge. And because when he was walking, if you look at the photos, his eyes are straight ahead. They're not looking down. He's not looking down, watching where he's going. He already knows where he's going. He already knows that bridge. Okay, so you're getting across there, and he's focused in on him, but then he goes past. And I think the reason he does that, again, is to make sure that nobody else is down there, nobody else is around. And then when he turns around, he knows he's got him.
Yeah, they had nowhere to go.
No, they were trapped. They couldn't have outrun him. And a lot of people said, well, you don't know, it could have been for revenge. It could have been this or that. If it was for revenge, he could have just chucked him off the bridge.
Right.
You know, something he could have just, you know, he could have shot him. He could have done anything as they were crossing, you know.
Yeah, we agreed. He went there. He was ready. He was going to kill that day.
Yeah.
It just so happened to be, it was two.
And
It's sad.
somebody who's not a serial predator, the odds are like 1,000,000,000 to 1 that they're going to take 2 girls at once on their first go out, especially a sexual predator. And now, when those pictures came out, the first thing I told Belinda, or one of the first things, is he's got a camera on under his hat. It looks like a video camera, and it looked like he had cords here. Now I've blown up some pictures, and I've got some other information about him. I'm not willing to share with the public. You know what I'm talking about. But interesting that, you know, the police, well, I'm not gonna make that statement. I'll just say this. We knew going in he was a serial killer, serial predator. And we were talking, and I got from Delphi to Denver. The first person that popped up in my head was Mark Redwine. Remember that? Now, Mark, when Dylan Redwine went missing, I was called and asked to work on his case, and it was within like 24 hours. And they asked me to do a sketch, tell me exactly what he looked like. And I described him. I can still see him in my head. He's got, you know, brown curly hair, blonde highlights, beard gut, the mustache, the flared nostrils, big nose. Yeah. And they said, well, is this him? And they showed me a picture, and I said, yep, that's him. Where is he? What did he do with him? I said, he took him up into the woods. He took him up on the side of a mountain. But yeah, Mark came up for me from the very beginning. I shared that with Anthony Greeno like a few years ago in text messages. A lot of people were saying Mark Redwine, but you know, that was, and another thing too, we didn't learn that Mark was even in Delphi until a few months back. You know, he'd actually stayed in that area with a relative from, I think, the 12th to the 14th or 15th, right?
Yeah, for a few days.
And he's a truck driver, and he was dropping off a load at Indiana Packers and staying in town for a few days. But so one of the things we also got was a connection with Evansdale, Iowa, Lyric Cook and Elizabeth Collins. And so back then I did a sketch, and back then for them, I got different people that I had to sort out in my head. Where's the file at? Different people that I had to sort out. But back then for them, this was the sketch I did. Sorry. I don't know if you can see it. Now, without a beard and mustache, that's Mark. If you put a beard and mustache on him, that's Mark Redwine. And what's interesting about those girls' cases, sad, tragic. And when I'm talking about a case and I say interesting, trust me, I'm not trying to be rude. And I
know that, but yeah, the
viewers don't know that. I have to kind of desensitize myself to the situation and say, this is not me. Otherwise, I'd go stark raving mad working with these cases all the time.
And we do put our emotions in there. They hear us sometimes.
Well, and first, okay, so I just want to say this, and you know, when the Iowa girls went missing, I was hit because around that area there's a lot of pedophiles, okay, around Evansdale, Iowa, a lot of child predators, And one of them that I was getting, I did a sketch of him. This was on July 23rd. Now the girls went missing. It was July 15th, something to that
13th.
effect. Huh?
13th.
July 13th, and they were found December 5th, 2012. So like 6 months later, 5.5 months later. So this is one of the first sketches I did. And as you can see, that was July 23rd, 2012. Interesting enough, the guy was captured. Was it Louisiana or Arkansas? It was one of them. Anyway, he was non-reporting. Okay, so he was non-reporting. I did this sketch, and that's him. And he had actually shaved his head the way I did the sketch. But so yeah, I did the sketch. That was one of the first people that I did. And he was trying to snatch a kid in a gas station. He had skipped town in Iowa. He's non-reporting and left and went south. And he was trying to snatch a 12-year-old little girl with her mom. She went to go into a gas station, and he was trying to get the kid in his, he had a van. He was trying to get the kid in a van or a truck or something. Anyway, they ended up capturing him. And the reason they did was off of the site that we were on. The mom was on the site. The kid was on the site. They recognized him from the site. So they were able to make an arrest and capture him. But then, you know, I did a couple other sketches, and something similar happened in each one of those circumstances. But the one that they didn't catch was the fat boy with the brown hair, you know, with blonde highlights. And I believe that's Mark Redwine. And I still believe it's Mark. Okay, so again, the reason I was considering that, you know, it was a serial killer, not just from what I'd seen in my head, but from the two girls, middle of the day, that's a seasoned predator. Middle of the day, they knew the area. They knew how to go past, look, check, make sure. When the audio came out, get down the hill, because they didn't release the guy's part yet. They only released the get down the hill. When the audio came out, I noticed that the person was very calm, yet commanding, took control immediately. That's not somebody who's just doing this for the first time. It's not somebody who's all hyped up.
No adrenaline flow, no nothing, just calm, just matter of fact.
Yeah, so when you look at the pictures, when you zoom in on them, you can see that little thing there with the camera on it, and you can see the wires coming up. And knowing that, I know that whatever this creature did to these girls, he probably filmed it. But anyway, I got hammered on social media, as you were witness to. And it wasn't until, I guess, last year that one of the detectives retired, and he came out and he said there's at least 3 signatures. Well, folks, you don't get signatures unless you've done this before, or unless they know that it's a serial predator. Now, Mark Redwine, another trait of many serial predators is they have signatures, but a lot of them have paraphilias. And Mark has some interesting one. If you're familiar with Mark Redwine, his son Dylan, and Dylan's brother Corey. Now, Dylan was the son that he murdered, but they discovered some pictures, images of their dad that were really horrific, disgusting, graphic. So they found pictures of Mark wearing women's lingerie where he's eating actual feces out of a diaper. And, you know, when you're young, when you're a kid and you're eating your own, you know, people seen babies eat poop, you know. They say it's from pica, but with paraphilias, you know, they tend to get into sadomasochism, bondage and discipline, you know, all these crazy, creepy things. For example, they'll objectify a body part. There's a lot of paraphilias. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not going to go down the list of them, but you know, it is the mark of a serial predator, and quite often, actually. So that was another sign. And again, back then, my mind first went to Mark. Now we have other people in mind. We've brought forth like what, 7 POIs, but every single one of them fit the criteria for
Yeah,
anonymity.
they all fit the profile.
Every one of them fit the profile, which is terrifying in itself. You know, what do you say about that? And, you know, Garrett Kurtz, he's one that we discussed. The voice.
I think the voice actually, he actually fit the voice more than any of them.
Except one.
Yeah, well, you know what I meant.
Except one. I mean, it doesn't sound as much like Mark as it does our other person of interest.
Right.
The other person of interest is a dead ringer. And the look is a dead ringer. Yeah. Not going to say much more about that. We cannot mention this person's name, but let me just preface this by saying all persons we discuss here are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. You know, have not been charged yet. Nobody's been charged yet. So, but this person has a history and they know the law, don't they?
Yeah. But we both feel that this case is going to be solved.
Yeah, real soon.
Next
year. I believe that, well, now see, what a lot of people don't understand is during Mark Redwine's trial for the murder of his son, they stated in court that, you know, his DNA had not been put in the National CODIS database yet. And so if it's not in the national database, then they
haven't checked it yet.
Right. Now, I don't know if they'll have much information on Elizabeth and Lyric, because sadly they were out there for 5.5, it's 5.5 months, July, August, September, October, November, December, almost 6 months, so a little over 5.5 months. But okay, so Elizabeth and Lyric were taken from a lake about a block from their house where they ride their bikes, and they were driven to Seven Bridges Park. It's a state park in outside of Evansdale, Iowa, and it's northeast of there, I believe. They were taken out to Seven Bridges Park. So you got the bridges, you got the taken across the water, and you know, put out on an embankment. And Abby and Libby were taken from a bridge down an embankment across the water and laid out in another flat area. And I'm wondering, you know, if this isn't part of the predator's fantasy scenario. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So if it's Mark Redwine, which, you know,
I'm sure there's a lot of similarities there.
Right. It'll take a couple months for it to come back, you know, and it's not been that long yet. I think he's still awaiting sentencing, correct?
Yeah.
Wonder when his
his trial was just last month, so
yeah. So he's still awaiting sentencing. Right. He's still awaiting sentencing. So, you know, nobody's going to know for at least another probably month if he's a hit on anything in the database, you know, the DNA database. But they'll get his DNA. And I think they have to get, they have to go through the process once he's convicted of collecting his DNA, since he was convicted for brutally murdering his son.
Right.
And I'm sure that's under appeal as well. So it could take some time. If he did do this and they put a case together for him, you know, maybe hopefully they'll announce it by the next anniversary of the day the girls went missing. that would be a godsend. So what are your thoughts on it all, Belinda?
Yeah, our whole goal is just that, the family gets some part of, an end to that part, of the
Yeah.
he's
And
still being out there.
answers. And Anthony Greeno, after I sent him that message, it was a while after that, but once he was arrested up in, I guess it was it Seattle or somewhere up in Washington. Anyway, they arrested him and he was fighting extradition to come back. Well, somehow Anthony Greeno sent him a letter while he was incarcerated. And he sent Anthony Greeno back a one-page letter or note. So Anthony sent him this letter saying, what about Abby and Libby, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And he sent the note back, and across one page was written Delphi Bridge or Delphi Girls or something like that. So it was just one big word, Delphi. But anyway, he knew exactly what Anthony Greeno was talking about.
Yeah, I think you told me that he said Delphi, and he wrote back Monon Bridge or Monon Bridge.
Monon Bridge or something.
Yeah.
Monon
I think it was something to that. Yeah, I think it was something to that effect.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Anthony asked him about Libby and Abby just right out.
Right.
I think it was just throwing it out there, and he come back with that. Like, he knew exactly what he was talking about.
Now, see, they're talking about this James Brian Chadwell. And, we discussed him as well, but I don't think that he's their guy. And the reason I say that, I mean, he snatched a 9-year-old kid, neighbor, was planning on keeping her, but this guy's such a dope. When the police knocked on his door, he let him in. Thank God he did. Not the world's smartest criminal, but he's definitely.
Yeah, and looking at that case, I don't know, we can discuss it because it's still open. Maybe we better not.
Yeah, might want to leave that one alone. Well, I mean, he was caught with her, so it's not. I mean, he was caught red-handed.
I was going to say the way he had it with, he already had the bed, he had the chains, he had everything to keep her.
Yeah.
So that was going to be a little different than, going there and.
Well, and he'd already brutalized her and almost killed her.
Exactly.
He was in the middle of,
right.
Poor child, and the police, I guess, he put a chain on the basement door, and I guess the dumbass didn't think that, they were going to break the chain or cut the chain.
And that law enforcement officer, gosh, he's a hero, to pick up on that and come back. He had knocked on the door. He said he had seen her, blah, 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 left, and then came back. And it was just like, wow. Yep. And if he would have asked to come in, I'm thinking, if he would have asked that officer, if the officer would ask him to come in, right at that moment, he would have said no.
No.
But when he came back, he said, yeah, he let him in. And it was just like, wow. I mean, that just it.
And now I suspect him of another. Well, I suspect Brian Chadwell of a homicide in Texas of a nurse. There was a male nurse that, was robbed, and suspect him of that one. Doesn't mean I'm right, but I suspect him of it. But I don't think that he's responsible for Abby and Libby. I think I believe, and that was the first name that came to me was, Mark Redwine, but also another name. And the name of the boss, remember the boss that I discussed? Anyway, we didn't find out till recently that he was in Delphi, but he actually delivered to Indiana Packers and was staying in the area.
Yeah, which was right there.
Yeah.
Within the area.
And he was very familiar with the area because he had family there. And he had stayed there before. And so it all kind of checks all the boxes, but so does our other suspect, person of interest. Checks all the boxes. And we discussed Daniel Nations. I did speech analysis on the letter that Daniel Nations sent to Anthony Greeno, and that was very revealing. You know, his lies are easy to spot. Let's just put it that way. I could actually break it down for everybody, but I think at this point, everybody pretty much knows he's a predator. No secret about that. And you know, he may very well be responsible for Timothy Watkins. That's up for Denver police to decide. But one of the reasons we focused in on Daniel Nations was because the police were focused in on him, and he did go to Denver. And from the very beginning, as a psychic, I got Delphi to Denver, Delphi to Denver. So yeah, that was a route that Mark used to run. Is there anything you'd like to add? I'm hoping that they clear.
I'm sorry, I'm eating chocolate.
You know, I hope that's okay. I'm hoping that they either charge him or clear him soon and allow the public to know. You know, because you know how I've been. I mean, their case has kept me awake at night.
Mm-hmm.
Since it's happened. And I couldn't for a long time, could not stop thinking about it until he was convicted. And then once he was convicted, I felt a sense of relief. Like, this guy's going to prison for life. And something inside me just said, okay. And then, but now I'm back on it. Not as intently as I was. I mean,
just wait.
Many pictures I've broken down and looked at and examined and probed, and you know,
video frame by frame,
you know, millisecond by millisecond, trying to discover anything. The one thing that would put Chadwell in that category with me is his shoes, because he had the boat shoes, and it, you know, in the pictures it's very difficult to determine, but when you zoom in on them, you know, it's like the camera thing. You can kind of see an outline of the toes, but that could be, you know, artifact. It's not a concrete thing like the camera and the wire.
Well, I think in the fact with him and the thing with the bridges, you know, he loved to take pictures of bridges. He loved to.
Yes, obsessed with the bridges. He's got the bridges tattoo, and everybody knows about the you know, what is that, the Insane Clown Posse tattoo that looks like just like Libby.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's got the tattoo of the two girls with the heads melded together that look like Elizabeth and Lyric. You know, so if he is a serial predator, perhaps.
I mean, that could have been his fantasy too, though. Who knows?
Two at once, yeah. Well, and then he's got the one that's got the cowboy hat drawn on it with the nursing insignia on the top. So it very well could be Chadwell. I'm not saying it's definitely not.
Right.
If it is Chadwell, then he may have pulled like a Bundy. You know how Bundy did serial, and then at the end he just kind of snapped and went on his spree killings because he knew his time was short.
Yeah.
And it seemed like Chadwell was preparing this girl for a while, which means he had to have been stalking her for a while.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, prepare him for a capture to keep, you know. I mean, if you looked at his Facebook profile, you know, all the stuff that he had posted and everything, very misogynistic, very dark, evil, self-pitying, self-loathing, terrible with women, broke up with every damn relationship, and it was always their fault. You know, he's the sweetest, nicest guy, all horse shit. You know, and then you look at his TikTok videos, and I mean, he's basically daring a kid to come over. Disgusting individual. I think we've covered like 7 predators. Charles Eldridge, who's the other one? Tom Spruce. You know.
Yeah, Kurtz,
Yeah, Garrett Kurtz.
Daniel Nation. Who else was there?
Well, the one that moved to Miami that I can't say.
Right. The one that had ties at both.
Yeah. Yeah, that one. Can't say his name. Or moved to Florida.
Yeah, I knew what you meant.
Yeah. And then the other one that had ties to the other girl that was murdered. Yeah. Can't say their names. Until they're incarcerated, then I don't give a shit. Somebody stop them, please. I think the police are well aware of who they are. Don't know if they, I don't know what they do with that information. I'm not going to comment on that, but so yeah, you know, hopefully we're both feeling like something. I mean, we're wanting something. Either let us know if it's Mark or take him off the table. You know, that's what we're asking for. Just let us know, is it him, or take him off the table so we can move on to the next one.
Right.
And this is what I try to explain to people. A lot of people don't understand psychic information. You can get all this information, and if somebody's not willing to look at it, it's not going to help a damn bit. Also, when you're trying to focus in on a case, and there's a lot of predators in that same area, you'll start picking up on other predators as well. Now,
Right.
with Elizabeth and Lyric, I sketched out 4 different predators, and they nabbed 3 of them, and the other one was actually on the registry already.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Hair on. For my hubby.
Yeah. So, I mean, what was it that you first noticed about the Delphi killer when you looked at that video? Do you remember?
Well, there was a lot of different stuff that I noticed about him. I really wish the law enforcement would have just played that, you know, instead of being in such slow speed, and everybody was focusing on this guy having a limp, and
Yeah. Well,
yeah, there was so much.
he does have an abnormal gait. And the other thing too, you know, he's got that red in his beard, and then the 2 messed up sketches. I mean, I guess they're
Yeah, that totally threw everybody off too.
witness sketch or sketch from the photo, you know, which is it? You know, one's from the sketch, and I guess one's from eyewitness, who knows? But they did say he's got red in his beard, and Redwine has that red beard. Yeah.
I mean, you know, you look at it's amazing because normally on cases you don't get video,
Right.
you don't get voice, you don't get any.
Had premonition.
I know it's just
I had
amazing.
premonition. And the thing with Libby, you know, I connected with her instantly. As soon as this person called, it's like she played softball, she played volleyball, she crochets, she played the guitar, because these were all things that I did as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was an instant connection like that. It's like, oh my God, this girl's tough. You know, she's the tough one. She's the outspoken one. The other one's the soft spoken one. And I didn't even know their names at that
Yeah,
point.
she was like mom figure. She was the one that was going
Yeah.
to protect her. She was, yeah.
Yes, the protector. She was the one that was fighting the bad guy. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, at that point, we didn't even know their names.
Right.
It was just, will you work on this case? And it's two girls that went missing. And what can you tell me? And that's what's, you know, it's good that the information got to the family, but the way it got there was wrong. And that's sad. You know, how many people do, how many times have we seen it where people will, that's why Belinda and I, we don't take money on cases, because, you know, if somebody wants to donate to search and rescue, you know, to Jody Powers or to Texas Aqua Search, Midwest Aqua Search, or Tennessee Search and Rescue, great. You know, that's awesome. Your local police department, that's awesome. But we don't take money for this because it's wrong. And these families, you know, they just lost a family member, a loved one, a child. How in the hell can you take advantage of somebody like that and live with yourself? You know, how can you go and make it into, you know, turn it into a cash cow? I think it's wrong. I think it's disgusting. Now, that said, investigations do cost a lot of money. And for the people who are investing in investigations and trying to really work a case, I get it.
At searching and yeah, it costs money.
Searching, going to the scene, trying to find out information, working as a private investigator, all of these things cost a lot of money. And I understand that, but there are others. They're like cockroaches.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, just stop. Okay, that's somebody's family member they just lost, and it's horrible. It's sad.
Well, and you know, not taken away from Abby and Libby, but they were found, thank God.
Thank God.
And quick, they were found. But then you get the ones that's not found, and the families are just going in this
spinning
or
ever-ending cycle, never-ending spin cycle.
Yeah, not knowing if they're alive or not, and
yeah,
and just search and search and search for years.
Yeah, we're still praying for Abby and Libby. I have not given up on their case. I will never give up until the perpetrator is caught. Hopefully we'll know something in the next 5-6 months. Maybe it takes time to build a case. But if law enforcement does know whether or not it's him, I wish they'd come out publicly and say it. If it's not him, come out and let us know. Yeah. You know?
But we know how the investigations works. It takes a while.
Yes, it does. It certainly does. And then, of course, you know, they have to track the whereabouts and, you know, all the ins and outs of what happened and find proof. And that also takes time. But, you know, in speaking of Mark Redwine, his son was not, in my opinion, his first victim. And the reason I say that is because, you know, he sadly, he dismembered and decapitated his own son. And the person who killed Abby and Libby and Elizabeth and Lyric had to be capable of something like that. Not saying that's what happened to them.
Right.
I don't know what happened to them. I don't have the crime scenes. Only the investigators know, but 2 at once in both cases. Now they just had 2 girls go missing up in Indiana. 2 more girls a couple days ago or yesterday. Anyway, it's been within the last few days, and hopefully they're found soon and found alive, found safe. Praying for their safe return, but the two at one time seems like a theme for this person, and that's a serial predator. Yeah. Pray to God for the safety of the girls that are still out there and for the answers for the family. And for justice, more than anything, get him off the damn streets. You know, that's why Mark, you know, I can't say specifically for Chadwell. I mean, he was pretty cruel. Doug Carter, the superintendent, Indiana State Police superintendent, he said it's about power and control. So that tells us what kind of predator it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's a serial predator. Hopefully, folks will know something soon. So keep the girls and their family in your prayers, and for the love of God, whoever's accusing the family, please stop. They've been
Well, and you know the one that did it was evil. How
yeah,
can you say it so calmly?
yeah.
He could have just said, guys, down the hill, and been so calm and cool and collective, knowing what he was doing. He knew what he was going to do.
You know, he's got the video camera. You know, he was planning on recording.
Yeah,
whatever.
he knew exactly what he was doing, but yet he was so just calm, cool, no anger built up. So you could tell that it wasn't something that maybe he was into a fight with his wife or his girlfriend or his other significant other or whatever the case may be.
A lot of people don't realize
he was there for that.
A lot of serial predators are visually focused. They're, you know, visually focused into art, statistically speaking, into Samuel Little drew sketches again of, you can remember at 75, 80 years old, the women
that case just
like it was nothing.
Yeah. The detail that he could just, I mean, just.
Yes. The detail of everything that they look like. Visually focused. And, you know, our other mutual friend that we've both worked with, she always used to say, well, how can you know serial killers so well? And it's because I'm not a psychopath. I've never killed anybody, but I've got visual focus. It's just they have visual focus for victims, and I have visual focus for predators. How do you explain that to somebody? You know, my mind's eye can see the predator a lot of times and see how they did it, what they did, like the movie going on in my head. And if somebody doesn't have that, it's hard to explain it to them. But, you know, you don't get all the details all the time. Sometimes I'll get a face. In Krista Dittmeyer's case, I got the name, exactly what happened, exactly where they put her, exactly what went down. That was very sad, very tragic. Thank God they're in jail. But you don't always get that. You know, you're psychic. Sometimes you don't get anything. It's all happen. It all happens in God's time. That should be the topic of our next.
I mean, a lot of time, yeah, like with me, even a lot of the cases that I have personally worked on the ground. I'm not off the thing, but on the ground, footwork.
On the ground and search and rescue, yeah.
And getting what I'm looking for. And I'm looking for that particular thing, and you're out there and you're like, holy crap, and you just get overwhelmed with it, but it's always right there. I mean, it's always right at, I mean,
yeah.
But it's really hard when you're out there on the ground and trying to look for something.
Yeah, but you know, like in people's minds, a lot of people don't understand what remote viewing is. And that's my crippled ass sitting at home looking in my mind for what happened to the person, and then writing it all down from something that happened 3,000 miles away, 1,000 miles away.
Yeah, we've did quite
miles
a few
away.
of those cases.
It's working from home, you know, and figuring it out.
Oh, I was just saying, I was just saying, you get a place, you know, not necessarily, but you're picking up on one certain thing that you can't do from home because you're getting gravel or you're getting dirt or you're getting a mountainside or you're getting a certain tree or, you
Yeah.
know, you're getting a blue barn or something. I'm saying something like that. So you're out there and you're just like looking for it. And where is it? Okay, this is what I need.
Yeah, the day Holly Bobo went missing, it was right after she just went missing, and they were actively searching for her that day. And I was online getting, you need to check this road, this road, this road, this road, and that's exactly where they found her stuff. And I'm sitting at home doing this from a computer, you know, and a lot of people don't understand what that entails. And also what a lot of people don't understand, you're empathic, I'm empathic. A lot of times you feel it, a lot of times you see it, and you live with it every day. It doesn't go away. You have to.
Yeah, one of your famous lines, once you see it, you can't unsee it. That's a fact.
You can't unsee it. And it's just like in each individual case that I talk about, not all the time, but most of the time, my mental visual recall will come back just like that. And I can, sometimes I can see it happening, and other times I can't. What's interesting about Delphi homicide is the one image that sticks in my mind is the perpetrator is coming across the bridge, and then he stops and he turns around and looks directly at me. And it's like in my mind, we are locking eyes. And that was the first sketch I sent this other person when I didn't know the girl's names yet. You remember which one I'm talking about? The one on that I did on the computer. Yeah, that was the very first one. I've done like, I don't know how many sketches on Delphi. I tried to take and do sketches from the images, from the pictures themselves of what the person looks like with a beard, without a beard, you know, with a mustache, without a mustache, and change the hair, you know, did all these different things so people can see what the suspect looks like, you know, in various different scenarios. I don't know how successful I was at that, but I tried. Yeah, it's a lot of work. I wish I had flash base, you know, because flash base, but everything's gotten so darn expensive, you know, and you know, I'm not getting paid for this, but not that I would take money for it anyway. But, you know, it's just, I don't have everything I need. Wish I did. Wish I had. I need a program on my computer where I can do sketches again, because trying to do them by hand is very difficult. It takes a long time. Where if I do them, if I have the option where I can choose this nose, this eye, you know, this mouth, and then adjust it, it's a lot easier.
Right.
Something else we were talking about earlier is how a friend of ours had her algorithm stolen, but she used to take and put, we had a bunch of psychics that work for the group, and she used to take and put have everybody type in their information, and the algorithm would pick up the commonalities between all the psychics. Ironically, on one case that we worked out west, all the psychics picked the same general area in the river for this guy. And it was a week, no, I'm sorry, 2 days later, 3 days later, something like that, they went right to that area, went and sent a camera down into the river, and then they found it and then brought him up. I mean, stuff like that is very helpful. But when psychics are phony, had that happen too. Remember the one out west where the one psychic insisted that there was child trafficking going on at this ranch, and they went and broke into the ranch and there was nothing there.
Yeah.
Don't waste law enforcement's time. You don't want to waste their time. I mean, if you think you have a reasonable tip, absolutely turn it in. If you've got a tip for Abby and Libby, you know, you can call Crime Stoppers or Elizabeth and Lyric Crime Stoppers. You can call the Indiana State Police. They have the Abby and Libby tip line at Carroll County Sheriff's Department. You know,
I'm sorry, I just got all comfortable here.
that's okay. We're gonna stop here for the night. Is there anything you'd like to add to this tonight? Anything
No, just keep
think I missed?
the prayers going and
Definitely.
pray for justice for all these cases, all the missing, bring them all home.
And please, for
all
the
the
love of God, lay off the family.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Blaming the family, enough.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And if it turns out that a family member is involved, which I doubt in this particular circumstance, I don't see it happening.
No.
No.
I don't see it.
Just, please pray for the family. Seriously. I mean, and for God's sake, stop blaming them. You know, enough. All right, folks. God bless you all. Have a great evening, and we'll see you next time. Thank you and good night.
Good night.